Welcome everyone to Story with Hala 18. It's crazy that we are already at 18 episodes of this show. It's been my pleasure reading to you every week, and it's just crazy. It's the 18th week that we've been reading and doing this program, so I hope you all have been enjoying it as much as I have been enjoying it. So before we start our story, I'm just gonna go through a bit of information. First things first, as I promised, we added a new segment for this week, and it's a craft with Hala and a quote with Hala. Rest aside with the story with Hala, I'm still going to be doing a story, as well as the quote of the week every week, and I hope that you all will hold this quote in your heart for the whole week, and next week I will tell you a new one to keep in mind the whole week. For crafts, that's going to be the new season. For the new season of Story with Hala, I'm going to be not only doing some crafts and quote of the week, I'll also be, like I said, launching a book club and a few other segments that I will provide you with more information about after I get this all sorted out. So I also want you guys to spread the word with your friends, and subscribe to our channel, Canar TV, to come every Wednesday at 5 o'clock for our brand new segments and a story with Hala. I hope you all are enjoying this as much as I am. And yeah, I think that's all. Without further I forgot about the quotes. I'm really sorry. Okay, so this quote of the week is: "A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you forget the words," by Shania Twain. I find that this quote is really important to us because nowadays, with all this COVID, we need to remember our friendships with our friends, and we need them in these tough times. So if you have a few friends I haven't seen in a while because of COVID, maybe meet online or like video chat, or call them and check in on them, because friendship is important and we need our friends when we have tough times in our life. So I hope you all remember this quote and keep it in mind the whole week. Hold it in your heart until next week when I tell you a new quote. All right, now that's actually all. Let's continue with this story. As I said last time, now it's the month of December, so it's almost Christmas. We're going to be incorporating like Christmas and all of our next upcoming story with Halas. So the book I'm reading today is a classic for Christmas, The Nutcracker. I've always loved this book, and I also loved the music. I'd always dance to it when I was little, and so I really hope you guys like this. All right, so without further ado, let's start with Story with Hala. All right. All right. Christmas Eve. No other evening is so exciting, as I'm sure you agree. Mary, who was 7 years old, was eagerly awaiting the magic of Christmas Eve. She and her older brother Fritz had been listening to the comings and goings and strange noises from the living room all day. Fritz had even spied a dark, hunched man coming from the living room. This could only be their godfather, Papa Drosselmeyer. It's kind of weird. Drosselmeyer. At last, after a whole day of listening and waiting and nearly bursting with excitement, Mary and her brother were allowed into the living room. And what do you think they saw when they came through the door? Why, just the most beautiful, shining Christmas tree that ever was. Little candles twinkled on the branches, and there were little toys and candies and ornaments too. "Oh, how marvelous!" Mary exclaimed. Fritz jumped up in the air and hollered, "Stupendous!" And what was over there? A wooden horse for Fritz. who simply adored horses, and a new whole set of soldiers for his army. For Mary, there was a new doll. Mary immediately named her Clara, because no doll should have to go very long without a proper name. And the most beautiful dress in all the world, with colored ribbons and buttons. And then Papa Drosselmeyer came into the room with a splendid surprise. A wonderful castle with golden towers and sparkling windows. And there was a tiny Papa Drosselmeyer, no taller than your finger, which appeared at the castle door, going out and going in again. The grown-ups oohed and ahed over the castle. Mary, who was a polite little girl, thanked her godfather for the castle before going to play with her new doll. Mary was just bending over to pick up Clara when she spied a little man hiding under the lowest branches of the tree. "Father, whom does that little man belong to?" Mary asked. "He is Nutcracker, and he belongs to everyone. Let me show you what he can do." Father picked up the odd-looking man. He put an almond between the little man's teeth, pulled down on Nutcracker's short wooden cape, and crack! Pieces of the shell fell away, and Father handed the nut to Mary. "Wonderful! He's an adorable little man." "Well," said Father, "since you love him so dearly already, I will place him in your keeping. Of course you must share him with Fritz." "Oh, I will," said Mary, as she hugged the strange wooden man. Mary put only the softest and smallest nuts in Nutcracker's mouth. She did not want to ruin his big smile or his wide white teeth. "Let me see," a voice demanded. Mary turned to see Fritz, who grabbed Nutcracker from his sister's hands. He started feeding Nutcracker the very hardest nuts. Nutcracker's teeth gave in with a terrible crunch, and 3 teeth popped out onto the floor. Poor Nutcracker! He looked so fine in his uniform and shiny black boots, but he had a broken jaw. "You give him back," Mary said. She took Nutcracker in her arms. "You are a terrible monster, Fritz." "I don't know why you would like such an ugly old thing anyways," said Fritz. "Well, I do," Mary cried. "I'm going to take care of him and make him feel better." She bandaged his broken jaw with a ribbon of silk from her new dress. Then she took her wounded Nutcracker to the large glass cabinet in the living room, where they kept their favorite dolls and toys. Mary looked at Clara. "I'm sorry, Clara, but Nutcracker is badly wounded, and I know you won't mind giving up your bet to him, now will you?" Clara did not mind. "Very good. Now rest well, Nutcracker. It is late. Papa Drosselmeyer will fix your teeth and jaw tomorrow, and you'll be good as new." As Mary turned to go upstairs to bed, the tall grandfather clock chimed the midnight hour. Then the strangest thing happened. Mary heard strange squeakings and clatterings behind her. She spun around and, could it be? Hundreds of mice were pouring out from under the sofa and chairs, between the cracks in the doors. Then a terrible rumbling shook the floor, and up came a giant mouse king with 7 heads, and on those heads were 7 gold crowns. "I've come for Nutcracker, and he will be mine," he shouted. Nutcracker leaped from the glass cabinet, leaving Fritz's old toy soldiers. The army fought bravely, shooting gumdrop cannonballs at the awful mice. But the Mouse King suddenly sprang at Nutcracker. "Stay away from him!" Mary shouted. She threw her left shoe into the fray, and it hit Mouse King right on his many heads. He ran away with all the other mice. Well, Mary fainted right then and there. Mary awoke in her very own bed. Had it all been a dream? She looked up and saw Papa Drosselmeyer smiling gently at her. I have something for you, my dear. And do you know what it was? Why, it was Nutcracker. And he was mended. His teeth were in straight, and jaw worked perfectly. Mary hugged him tightly. She had tears in her eyes as she thanked her Papa Drosselmeyer. That night, Mary couldn't sleep. Just after the clock chimed midnight, she heard strange sounds, clanging and crashing from the living room, then a terrible squeak, then a knock on the bedroom door, then a voice crying, Mary, open the door, I have wonderful news. Mary recognized the voice of Nutcracker and led him in. I have defeated the Mouse King, Nutcracker exclaimed. It was you who gave me the courage to defeat that nasty creature. To thank you, I wish to give you these. He handed her 7 tiny gold crowns. Mary clasped her hands with delight. I must tell you, dear Mary, that I am really a king, said Nutcracker, a king of the most wondrous land in all the world, Toyland. And now, will you join me as I travel to my kingdom to celebrate this happy occasion? Mary could think of nothing she would rather do. Mary followed Nutcracker to the front closet, where he revealed a hidden ladder. Mary was just small enough to climb up this ladder, and soon found herself standing in a sweet-smelling meadow. This is Candy Meadow, said Nutcracker. Now we will travel through all of Toyland on our way to Marzipan Castle in the Sea of Sweets. That's where I live. Oh, and Toyland was marvelous. They passed through Almond and Raisin Gateway. They watched a charming ballet. Then they went by Orange Brook and River Lemonade and passed Gingerbread City on the Honey River. In each of these places, Mary saw the most amazing things. Houses and whole villages made out of all manner of sweets, and the friendliest people you could ever hope to meet. There were creatures of all kinds, and they were dancing and laughing in about the merriest way. They finally came up to a rose-colored lake. Nutcracker summoned a jeweled gondola pulled by dolphins to take them across the water. On and on, under a moonlit sky, they glided over the lake. There ahead lay the City of Sweets and Marzipan Castle. When they arrived, what do you think Mary saw? Only the most beautiful houses, all made of brightly colored candies, and a marketplace full of delicious sweets that made her mouth water. Nutcracker took up Mary to his castle, where she met all the ladies of the house, and the royal pages and such. Everyone was so nice that Mary decided she would never leave. They had a wonderful meal of hundreds of candies and desserts. And then Mary started to yawn and rub her eyes. Can you blame her? She had been through quite a bit of excitement, to say the least, and she probably had eaten a bit too much candy. Indeed, Mary did fall fast asleep to the sound of her beloved Nutcracker talking. And when she woke, she was in her own bed. Oh, it couldn't have been just a dream, she said sadly. But what was this in her hand? Why, the 7 tiny gold crowns that the Nutcracker had given her. Many, many years later, Mary sat in the living room gazing at her old beloved Nutcracker in a glass cabinet. Oh, Nutcracker, she said, if only you were really alive, I would love you just as you are. I don't think you are ugly. I think you are handsome. Just when Mary's mother came in. Sit up like a proper young lady, she said. Papa Drosselmeyer's nephew is here to meet you. Who? Said Mary, sitting up very straight indeed. In came a handsome young man. He smiled, walked over, and took Mary's hand in his own. Oh, sweet Mary, he said, I am really alive. You were kind and gentle enough to say that you would love me just as I am. And so here I am. Now, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife and the queen of all the Toyland? Nutcracker, is it really you? Whispered Mary. Of course I will. Ah, dear children, who can say how such things happen in this world, and in the world of toys and dreams? Who can say how love creates its own magic? And who can say whether Queen Mary and her beloved King Nutcracker rule over Toyland to this very day? If you have the eyes and heart for it, dear children, perhaps someday you will visit Toyland, and then you can say. And that's the end of the book. I love this book so much. It's such a classic, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. So, next, it's time to start our craft. This week's craft is going to be a fillable ornament for your Christmas trees. I know everyone might not have a Christmas tree, but you can even hang it on your porch or on your door, or just as like a little decoration on your desk to remind you of Christmas. So, you can find these fillable ornaments at Dollarama for very cheap. And we have a bunch of little glitters and fillable little sequins over here. So you can do the same design as me, or you could just do it on your own. I find kind of filling up in your own way is really fun too. And I also have some bells. They make big noises. All right, so let's start by filling it up with some snowflakes. This is also a very fun project to do with your family or siblings. So let's start now. I'm trying to put this in here now. Okay. Still filling it up. All right, let's switch to some stars. It's a very big ornament. I don't think I can fill it full way. Let's try some Santas. Let's slip in a bell or two. And some trees, Christmas trees. Filling it up all the way. I think the bells have to be my favorite part. They're the biggest and funnest. with these bells. This is going to be a very noisy decoration. Okay, now time to cap it with a lid. This part is a bit hard. And done. You have this little decoration now to put anywhere you want. Personally, I'm going to put this on my tree, but I hope you all enjoyed this week's story with Hala. And come back next week for another craft and another quote of the week. Just remember to subscribe and to share with your friends and to enjoy the rest of your Christmas. Thank you so much for having me.